Should Justin Simmons bring his elite talents to Las Vegas? The rumor mill is heating up. CBS Sports recently listed the Raiders as a top potential landing spot for the veteran free agent safety. Why? Because Las Vegas needs help in the secondary, badly. Currently, the Raiders are set to roll with Jeremy Chin and Isaiah Pola-Mao. Promising, maybe, proven, not quite. Simmons would instantly elevate the back end of this defense, especially under a sharp, defensive-minded coach like Pete Carroll. Here's where it gets more interesting. Joe Woods, now the Raiders' pass game coordinator, was Simmons' first DB coach back in Denver. That kind of familiarity could be the key to making this move happen. The Raiders have the cap space in 2025. The need is obvious. And Simmons? He just might be the missing piece. Let's get real. Justin Simmons might not hit like he used to, but the man still reads the field like a chess grandmaster. His instincts, razor sharp. His ball hawking, proven. With 32 career interceptions, Simmons still knows how to bait a quarterback and flip a game on its head. Now, imagine him wearing silver and black. Signing Simmons wouldn't just beef up the Raiders' secondary, it'd bring a veteran presence with serious playoff experience. And let's not forget the storyline, a return to the AFC West with a chance to silence his former team. The cap space is there, the need is there, the fit, it just makes sense. But here's the honest take. It all depends on the price. Simmons is over 30 and coming off a quieter season. If he's chasing a top-tier contract, the Raiders should pass. But if he's willing to come in on a team-friendly deal, mentor the young guys, lock down the back end, and still make plays, that's a win for Vegas. Look, unless the Raiders somehow pull off a miracle trade for someone like Jair Alexander or Jalen Ramsey, which feels unlikely, Simmons might be the smartest bet available, reliable, experienced, and capable of producing now. As for the bigger picture, playoffs aren't just a dream. After a rough ride last year, the Raiders have the coaching, the hunger, and the locker room energy to climb out of the basement. It won't be easy in a loaded AFC West, but don't count this team out just yet. The fire is real, the talent is growing, and if a few key moves fall into place, like Simmons, this team could surprise everyone. Let's be honest, nobody's handing the Raiders a Super Bowl ticket, but count them out too early and you might regret it. This team isn't here to lie down. They're built to fight. And maybe, just maybe, they can sneak into the playoff picture. According to a recent ESPN projection, the Raiders have a 23.9% chance of making the postseason. That's not huge, but it's not zero either. There's a pulse. And in the NFL, that's all a team needs. ESPN's breakdown was blunt. They pointed out how even dominant AFC teams like the Bills and Ravens have struggled to get past Patrick Mahomes. So, why would Vegas, a team still finding its footing, stand a chance in the regular season? The odds are slim. The path is brutal. And yet, there's something about this Raiders squad that feels different, even in a division stacked with talent. Think Chargers, Broncos, and, of course, the Chiefs. Las Vegas isn't being totally ignored. In fact, while they're 6th in AFC West Division odds, they're surprisingly 4th in playoff probability among all 8 AFC contenders. That says something. Veteran leadership, especially under a coach like Pete Carroll, is already shifting the energy. Maxx Crosby and other locker room voices have praised the culture, the grind, and the spirit of this squad. There's a new tone, a sharper edge. The Raiders aren't just hoping anymore, they're building. Raider Nation knows the heartbreak, the false starts, the letdowns. But this year, the vibe is different. And if this team keeps trending in the right direction, those 23.9% odds might look a whole lot better come December. Let's get one thing straight. No one's expecting the Raiders to win the AFC West. And honestly, that's exactly where they thrive. Going into this season, Vegas sits in the shadow of Kansas City, with critics giving the edge to both Denver and Los Angeles. But here's the truth. The Raiders are better than the Broncos. They're better than the Chargers. The only real mountain left to climb, the one wearing red and gold. And that's what makes this underdog role so perfect. History has shown, when expectations are low, the Raiders hit hardest. When nobody's watching, that's when they rise. It's when the spotlight gets too bright, when the pressure is too high. That's when things fall apart. But with nothing to lose, that's when the silver and black come alive. And speaking of pressure and resilience, Maxx Crosby recently sat down on the Glory Days podcast with Johnny Manziel, and what he shared pulled the curtain back on a defining moment in recent Raiders history. Crosby opened up about the 2021 season. The team was rolling, off to one of their hottest starts in years. But then came the firestorm, the sudden resignation of head coach Jon Gruden after decade-old emails surfaced. The fallout hit like a bombshell. Exposed during an unrelated NFL investigation, shook the league and the locker room. For Crosby and for the Raiders, it wasn't just about losing a coach. It was about losing momentum, leadership, and the identity they were starting to build. That season could have been historic. Instead, it became a cautionary tale about how fast it can all unravel. But now, the scars of 2021 are still there. But so is the hunger. The culture has shifted. The energy is back. And with players like Crosby leading the charge, the Raiders are no longer just trying to rebuild. They're trying to reclaim. When Jon Gruden stepped down, it didn't just end a coaching chapter. It sent a shockwave through the entire Raiders organization. The energy inside the building vanished. The momentum died. For the players and fans alike, it felt like the soul had been pulled out of Las Vegas. And no one felt it more than Maxx Crosby. Crosby recently opened up about that raw, emotional moment. He and his partner Rachel went straight to Gruden's home the night it all happened. What they found was a man, once the face of the Raiders, sitting in silence, visibly broken. He was just sitting in the corner like the Godfather, Crosby recalled. He couldn't even look me in the eye. He was tearing up, apologizing over and over again, telling me he was sorry. But Crosby didn't want apologies. He wanted to honor the man who believed in him when no one else did. I told him, "Coach, stop apologizing. I love you to death." He was the one who gave me a chance, and I'll never forget that. That night wasn't just about football. It was about loyalty, brotherhood, and watching someone you respect lose everything in an instant. Gruden knew what was coming. According to Crosby, he looked them in the eyes and simply said, "I'll be back." Now no one's ignoring the reason Gruden stepped away. The remarks tied to his emails were wrong, no excuses. But the story also reminds us of something deeper. No one in this game, or in life, is perfect. We've all made mistakes, said things we regret, been in moments we'd take back if we could. Crosby's story wasn't about defending the past. It was about acknowledging the pain, the heartbreak, and how this team, flawed, battle-tested, and still rising, keeps marching forward. Let's be honest, if group chats and locker room banter were made public, half the league would be facing backlash. The reality is, mistakes happen. But when Jon Gruden was pushed out, it felt personal. It felt targeted. Whether you supported him or not, there's one thing nobody can deny. The man loved football, loved the Raiders, and most of all, he loved his players. And his players, they felt that love. Many stood by him, not to excuse his past, but to honor the loyalty and leadership he brought to that locker room. It was a rough chapter in franchise history, but that chapter is closed. Fast forward to now, and the Raiders are on their third head coach since Gruden. This time, it's Pete Carroll at the helm. And if you ask Maxx Crosby, the difference is electric. Crosby painted a vivid picture on the Glory Days podcast. Pete Carroll isn't just a name or a legacy. He's a force. He's walking into film rooms unannounced, dropping quick football wisdom, cracking jokes, then vanishing just as fast. Always moving, always energizing, always competing. You've seen the clips, Carroll tossing balls in practice with his signature gloves and those massive white air monarchs. But that's not a show. That's who he is. Every single day. The energy is different now. Meetings feel unpredictable in the best way. Practices are intense but fun. Players want to be in the building. They want to work. They want to win. That's what Carroll brings to the Raiders. A culture shift. One the team has desperately needed. With leadership like his and warriors like Crosby buying in, something real might finally be building in Las Vegas.